Las Posadas, and Christmas shopping, plus fun activities for both children and youth. Get tickets and information at stnicholaschristmasshow.com.
You know, this is your Catholic radio station, and we'd like to make it even better for you. Your feedback is really important to us. Just go to our website, grnonline.com, and look for the button labeled 60-Second Radio Survey. It only takes a minute to fill out and send to us. Again, go to our website, grnonline.com, and look for the button labeled 60-Second Radio Survey. We'd really appreciate it.
KATH 910 AM sponsors Sacred Heart Books and Gifts in Dallas is your one-stop shop for all things Catholic. Religious books for all ages, unique gifts for every Catholic celebration, and much more. Our local Catholic bookstores need our support. Sacred Heart Books and Gifts is located at the northwest corner of Coit and Campbell Road in far north Dallas. Visit today or call them at 972-250.
Welcome to Back to the Father, a show about the journey of life focused on our final end, which is God Himself, our loving Father. And now, here's your host, Dave Palmer.
And welcome to this week's edition of Back to the Father here on all the Guadalupe Radio Network social media sites. We're glad that you're with us. And we had so much fun last week talking about the Monarchy, had a lot of participation, some phone calls, and a lot of people active on social media that we decided let's do it again. And not just the same exact topics, but kind of talk about some different things, because St. Thomas Aquinas wrote a book on the monarchy and why he thought that was the preferred form of government and why he thought it was better than all the other ones, and we'll talk about that. And we have an ever-expanding studio of kind of co-hosts, guests in here, so I'll introduce them in just a minute. And this basically is a show where we talk about St. Thomas Aquinas and teachings in the Summa Theologia, although, as I mentioned, the teaching today is outside the Summa, because this is something that he wrote separate, and he really didn't go into this in the Summa about forms of government per se. So this is a little bit of a departure from what we normally talk about specifically with the Summa. And there are a couple ways you can participate. You can call us up if there's something that tickles your interest during the program. We love to hear from you via phone, 877-757-9424, 877-757-9424. And you can also comment on our social media sites, and we welcome our entire crew. Nobody, by the way, wearing a hat. Even Sissel Anderson has given up. Oh, there we go. All right. Were you going to put that on, or only if I cued you, or what?
The thing is that I put my hair up in a way that the hat doesn't really work, and so I was like, this is kind of a lost cause. So I'm wearing it for a second.
I don't think that hat would stand like a big wind. It seems like it would just go flying off.
Like the wind we've been having.
Like very few hats besides like a beanie stand.
Yeah.
We have been very windy here.
Yeah, it has been
too.
very, very windy.
I would lose all my hats.
All right, very good. And in Sissel's shot, we also have the return of our prodigal son, Sam Cavanna. So Sam, welcome back. Sam doesn't have a microphone, but what he's going to do, Sam is monitoring the social media sites. And so anytime somebody comments, Sam is going to let us know what's on your mind. And so we invite you to not be bashful and let us know what you think about this topic. Maybe you disagree with Thomas. Maybe you think a monarchy is not the best form of government. I think most of us, I think, in the studio here kind of agree with him. You know, I don't know. I don't want to speak for everybody, but also want to welcome Jonathan von Weber-Hansberg, who has brought a friend today.
I have.
A buddy from his homeschool group. Do you want to introduce your friend?
This is Daniel Reisinger. He is a pseudo-monarchist as far as I'm aware.
Pseudo? Well,
Pseudo, I think.
Yeah, not quite sure. How would you?
Well, John introduced me to.
Is his mic on?
Monarch.
Yeah,
Sorry.
there you go. Okay.
John introduced me to
Is it?
monarchism.
Is his mic on?
Is it on?
Okay. Yeah, it doesn't seem.
Yeah, just go
Okay.
and turn it up, way up, Diane.
Yeah, way up. Okay, now Daniel, it'd be kind of a pity if you were on the show and nobody heard what you were saying.
Yeah.
They just hear your.
Raise the
okay,
mic
go.
volume?
Yeah, there, go ahead and just go.
Just
Yeah.
keep
Oh,
checking.
like this.
Yeah, there
okay.
you go.
There we
yeah,
go.
now
Yeah,
you're on.
so-
Now
There
you're
he
on.
is, there
Okay,
he is.
4 mics,
John-
all working.
John introduced me to the ideas of monarchism and Thomas on Monarchy about 2 years ago, and although I haven't really followed up too much on that, I still support the idea of monarchy being a sort of replacement for the current system. If it
Okay.
works.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll have a lot of opportunity to talk about it. Just feel free to chime in. Daniel also is one of my students. I teach through Homeschool Connections a class called An Introduction to the Summa Theologia. And we've had 6 classes so far. And you liking it okay so far? Other
Pretty
than me doing too many analogies?
Way
We won't
to
get
put
into that,
somebody
yeah.
on
You know,
the
we ought to do a
spot.
show about the analogy of being. You know, it's
Ooh.
actually something that Thomas teaches about analogy and the way that we learn about God. But we have to bring you back for that one, Daniel.
Yeah.
Okay, then.
All right. Well, it's good. I very rarely ever get to meet the students that I teach because it's all remote. So it's good to have you here. Thanks for coming in. All right. And then, of course, Diane Xavier running the board. Good to have her here, answering phone calls as they come in. Hopefully we'll get a few. 877-757-9424. Most of the calls come because they're personal friends or relatives of Jonathan. I think that's
Yeah.
pretty much the case, right? And before we get into that topic, and of course at the end of the program, we have trivia questions, and we ask each other trivia having to do with something related to either Thomas Aquinas or the Catholic faith in one way or the other. I came equipped. Everybody else is kind of coy about whether or not they bring questions. Nobody
You'll
seems to
never
be.
know.
It's like a game of poker. You don't know.
Yeah, right.
The poker
That's-
face is strong.
Exactly.
Well, even if you guys don't have any, that's all right, because I came equipped. I got plenty of them,
Oh,
and
dear.
Daniel is not
We
going to
should definitely
escape
come up with some.
the trivia round, fire round here at the end of the show. Okay, so it is October 29th. Real quickly, just anybody doing anything for Halloween? You boycotting it? I know people that like they'll do nothing for Halloween. It's like they won't answer the door.
That's
You
weird.
know, the lights are out. I know there's one family. It's a good Catholic family that I know in our neighborhood. We were doing trick or treating. We went by and all the cars are outside, and they're clearly we can see them inside the house. We rang the doorbell and they didn't even answer.
So that's just the biggest disappointment as a kid. When I go up there, I'm like, I can see you, and they're just ignoring me. What I'm doing for Halloween is I'm dressing up as a full-blown crusader, and I'm going to be answering the door.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay. We're doing something
my plan.
different this year. Sissel and I actually talked about
Yes,
this. I
we
think
did.
Sissel inspired me. My wife and I are going to have a big fire pit outside in the front, and just kind of sit around and greet people as they come, rather than them having to come up to the door and ring the doorbell. Because we basically just kind of sit around waiting for the doorbell to ring, and then we go. But this time we'll be more engaging and be out there and talk to them and have the fire going, and should be a nice evening and all that. How about you, Daniel? What are you going to do?
So my family usually help out with the. There's a homeschooling All Hallows Eve party that
Oh, okay.
we set up at St. Anthony's in Wiley.
Yeah.
So we're probably going to be helping out with that.
Oh, okay. You gonna dress up like anything?
Don't think so.
No?
Usually
Okay.
the older teenagers run the games for the younger kids.
Yeah. All right.
Because he's scary enough as it is. He doesn't need a costume.
Man, with friends like that, who needs enemies, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Sissel, you gonna do the fire pit, or what are you
Yes.
gonna do?
So earlier on Halloween, I'm going to do trunk or treat at my church, and we all dress up as saints for that one. So it's always fun to see the little kids walking around like a St. Lawrence with grills tied to their girl sheets tied to their necks. It's
Oh,
really
yeah,
funny.
that's
They get
all-
very
that's
into,
fun, yeah.
It's very into it. I still don't know what saint I'm dressing up as, so I need to figure that out pretty quickly. But I'm dressing up as Eowyn from Lord of the Rings.
Oh,
for
okay.
my Halloween costume.
I told you about the year my older daughter dressed up. I think it was St. Lucy, the one with the
Yes,
eyeballs.
yes.
You know this story, right?
Oh, yeah.
So St. Lucy had her eyes poked out, right, in her martyrdom, and so Ina, our daughter, is like a 10-year-old or something, dressed up like Lucy, and she had a little plate with eyeballs on it. And so she goes around the neighborhood and ringing doorbells and all that. Everybody answers, and when she got finished, I said, "How many people asked you about the eyeballs, the plate of eyeballs? What it meant?" Nobody. I was like, I mean, come on. I always ask everybody. Hey, who are you? What are you dressed up
I know,
like?
me
I'm getting
too.
a little sense
Most
of curiosity.
Of the time, I don't understand what they dressed up as, but it's okay.
Yeah, sometimes I don't want to know. It's
yeah.
kind of creepy.
By the way, I just want to clarify that Sam is standing of his own accord. We do have a chair for him. We're not tormenting Sam. He's just.
Oh, okay.
Like in case
Okay.
anyone's like, man, Sam disappeared for a few weeks and he comes back. You can stand if you want.
Yeah,
I just want
he's
people
not
to know.
being disciplined.
He's not being disciplined. He does have a chair.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So
Maybe we
I'm-
should discipline him, though. That might be good.
I'm glad you cleared that up. Okay, so as far as away a day, let me first of all start off with a prayer. Prayer to St. Thomas Aquinas and the Father, Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. Everybody take off your hats. Okay, nobody has hats on. Okay, never mind.
Wow.
Father of wisdom, you inspired St. Thomas Aquinas with an ardent desire for holiness and study of sacred doctrine. Help us, we pray, to understand what he taught and to imitate what he lived. Amen. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Okay, just 2 away-a-day pictures. I want to bring back this butterfly here because it is the monarch, and it ties in. And I have a little question for you all. Do you know where and how the monarch got its name? The monarch butterfly, that is.
I feel like I've heard it before.
Why do they call it?
Did it conquer a bigger butterfly and thus won?
Claimed its
It claimed-
territories.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, like the first monarch ever, or it would seem like they would continue to do that. Like they attack bigger
Maybe
butterflies?
one very significant time.
Yeah, one time in the history of monarch
and that's
butterflies.
when they named them monarch.
Okay.
Before that, they were just
That's not
butterflies.
true.
Just asking.
No. Okay, yeah, that's all right.
I feel like I heard some legend, and I think because I know they go down to Mexico, right? That's where they go.
They do, yeah.
So-
Acapulco, I think.
It has something to do with the emperor of Mexico back in the day. I feel like I've heard something about
Well,
that.
you're close, okay,
okay.
but not exactly. The early settlers of North America named it the monarch butterfly because these early settlers were big fans of King William, Prince of Orange, stateholder of Holland. Now you should know this since you're like in the line for the throne of Austria.
Yeah.
He later would be King of England. So they had a great love of this particular king. And so maybe it was like the colors were similar to his colors or something. But anyways, they named it after a particular king, King William of Orange. And so kind of interesting. All right, so now here's an interesting picture here. After the show last week, my daughters and I and a couple of their friends went to Ray Roberts State Park, and we went camping. And you see the deer. We were actually at a little part of the camping called like Deer Park or something. So we see these deer off in the horizon, and then this one deer walks right up to us. You can't see this picture, can you? Okay, can you see it?
A
So
little bit.
it's actually my daughter Maura petting a deer because it walked right up to us.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, and so it made me think about the relationship between humans and animals, especially like in the state of original justice, where men had perfect authority over animals, and animals would have been perfectly obedient, and also whether or not it kind of is it more in line with nature for a deer to do this because humans kill deers, right? Or is this more like an aberration of nature, or is this the way it should be? That like in a perfect world where all the animals are perfectly in line with humans and they're not afraid of us, and birds are landing on our shoulder and
Disney princesses, that kind of thing.
yeah,
Sing
right,
and they all
right.
come and clean your house for you. I would love that power.
Uh,
Did we
That
have
would be
that
nice.
power
they come and clean our house.
Yeah,
But it's weird because the some of the creatures that I don't think we have any interest in, like squirrels, for example. I have no interest in a squirrel. I'm not going to eat it. I'm not going to. I have nothing. But they're like so scared of us. But it doesn't seem like they don't need to be because we're not going to. Most people aren't going to do anything to a squirrel, right? Whereas a cow, most cows will let you walk right up to them, right? Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
but
true.
they're the ones that should be the most afraid of us, right? And it just seems like it's kind of weird. Like the ones that should be more afraid of us aren't, but then the ones that like the birds seem to be terrified of us. But we don't really. I'm not going to eat a crow or a sparrow or something like that.
Some
but
of us can be pretty scared of the birds too.
yeah, yeah, and cockroaches.
Oh yeah.
Cockroaches. Not to bring up any bad
memories,
bad
yeah.
memories or anything. So.
Oh, if you're gonna get the burn sound effect, I keep forgetting to do that.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh
Like
no,
I said,
sizzle.
The sizzle.
Yeah,
We
the
need to give a
sizzle, right?
The sizzle.
Every single time we give a burn to each other.
All right. So.
You miss my terrible Greek.
All right. Let's move on to the topic at hand. What form of government does St. Thomas Aquinas recommend? And of course, he wrote the book called De Regno, which is I think in Latin means of the king.
Yeah, on kingship or of the king.
Of the
something
king.
like that.
And then why he preferred the monarchy and over this. So in what I did was I read the book, and I read it pretty thoroughly, and the book's got about 15 chapters. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give the title of each chapter and then give a very, very small excerpt of what Aquinas taught in this, and then just kind of open it up for discussion as well. Okay, so chapter 1 said that people living together must be ruled responsibly. And some of this is review from what we talked about last week, but he says, in all things which are ordered towards an end, wherein this or that course may be adopted, some directive principle is needed through which the due end may be reached by the most direct route. Okay, so he's establishing at the very beginning that people need to be directed to an end, right? Now, of course, there's a temporal end, and then there's a supernatural end as well, which is going to play into what we're talking about. But that kind of sets its stage. So what is the role of the government? What is the role of the government in bringing us to an end? Do you think it's government's role to guide us to heaven? Or is that the church's role? Or are the church and government equally responsible for this? Or, what do you think?
I don't think it's its sole role, but I do think it's definitely the government has a responsibility to help guide us towards our eternal end.
Yeah, but I don't think nobody in like American government would say that. And maybe that's one of the problems with our government is that they don't see any role in guiding us to our real end as just helping us to get food on the table.
End understood except for peaceful interaction between other people. They don't really acknowledge the fact of a final end. Or
Yeah.
final cause.
Yeah, because the second you talk about morality and anything in the Christian faith, people freak out and be like, oh no, that's church and state stay apart. But then you get an issue like abortion, where you have of course there can be secular reasons, but a religious or a supernatural reason to protect this child's life, and of course you need that in the government, and the government has to be able to help us with these moral issues like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. See, that's what we talked about it last week. It'd be nice to have that question come up like in a presidential debate. What is the role of the government? And I'd love for some, candidate who probably would be his last day in politics say, I think the role of the government is to guide. Now, it's going to come up later in this book, but basically Thomas is going to say that the role of the government is to guide men toward their happiness. Right, because that's what all men desire. That's what Aristotle said. All men desire to be happy, right? So government should assist in us being happy. And to Daniel's point, that part of the happiness is to be at peace, not to be having conquering armies coming and defeating you, and also to have food and education. And so there's a lot of temporal ways of achieving some element of happiness as well, right? All right. So if you're listening out there and you want to comment, Sam is busily looking and monitoring the social media platforms. We'd love to get calls or comments from you. You also can call in 877-757-9424. All right, chapter 2.
We do have a comment, by the way.
Oh, we do.
But Sam's page didn't update as fast as mine did, so he's very disappointed.
That's what. So you gave Sam the slow computer, right?
Yeah, I gave it fairly.
Okay. All right. So Sam is at a pretty big disadvantage since he doesn't have mic. But yeah, you can just kind of lean into Sissel's microphone whenever you get a chance. All right, Sam. So what's the comment?
Okay, so there's a comment from Buddy K9. It
Yeah.
says, history has shown us that monarchy leads to tyranny every time it is practiced. Monarchy under Henry VIII had helped spread the Protestant heresy. Let us not forget the harshness the colonies suffered under the English crown. Also, God told the Hebrews that they did not need a king, but they begged for a king, and God granted their request. It was these kings that brought destruction on the Hebrews.
Oh wow,
Okay,
man, that's well, yeah, and Thomas is going to address these things. But yeah, go ahead, Jonathan.
I say that, I mean, if you look at the government type we have today, it has not done us any favors. And I think that we have gone in a very steep moral decline the second we dropped the monarchy. There have been bad monarchies, but we've never been this bad, in my opinion.
Well, this, and Buddy, by the way, thanks for the comment. This leads perfectly into chapter 2 because he talks about different kinds of rule. And he starts off talking about the bad types of rule. And he says that one bad kind of rule, which I think Buddy got to, is a tyrant, okay? A tyrant is one, it's an individual man who rules a country, who only seeks his own benefit from his rule and not the good of the multitude subject to him. Okay, this is a tyrant. The other bad kind is when, rather than one person ruling badly, you have a small group of people ruling badly, and that's an oligarchy. And then he says, if the bad government is carried out by the multitude, it's called a democracy, which comes about when the plebeian people, by force of numbers, oppress the rich. In this way, the whole people will be as one tyrant.
That's my favorite quote of the entire book.
Yeah, isn't it great? Isn't it great? Yeah, so the whole people will be as one tyrant. I don't know if he would have known. Well, he certainly would not have known about communism or Marxism back then.
I mean, you can see the plebeian people have kind of become an oppressor today.
Yeah. I think he had more in mind of like something like communism or Marxism, where it's kind of upside down, where the people are ruling as a group rather than coming from the top. And then he says there's a good form of each of these. So the good form of single rule would be monarchy. Okay, where you have actually a good man ruling over a people rather than a tyrant. A good form of oligarchy is called aristocracy, and a good form of democracy would be called polity. But he still thinks the monarchy is the best, and the tyrant is the worst. And then he says, okay, why not democracy? Why not, the whole, like what we have right now, a bunch of people ruling? So what do you think he's going to say? Do you remember this part of it?
I don't remember exactly. It was a while ago that I read it. I wish I had my notes with me. I forgot to bring my laptop.
Do you remember, Daniel, what he said? Okay, he said, it is evident that several people could by no means preserve the stability of the community, and he's talking about oligarchy too here, if they totally disagreed. For union is necessary among them if they are to rule at all.
Okay.
Several men, for instance, could not pull a ship in one direction unless joined together in some fashion. In the multitude of bodily members, there is one which is the principal mover, namely the heart. And he's saying in nature, we always have one thing ruling. We have our reason ruling over our passions, right? We have God having providence over the entire world. There's only one God, right? And so he's saying multitude is not natural. I mean, use the example of the five of us trying to make a decision, and we say we're just going to, everybody throw out your suggestions, and let's see if we can come to a conclusion. But ultimately, it would make a lot more sense to say, okay, how about we just have Jonathan be in charge? He listened to all of our thoughts.
I'm glad that you recognize that I will be in charge. I think.
Okay, why did you have to choose Jonathan of all people as your example?
He just kind of had that look of leadership in his. He's got a certain soberness, know.
Oh dear.
I don't know.
But I think I said this last time. But I think that any form of widespread democracy is just begging for a civil war, pretty much. I mean, it's just you put the people at each other's throats essentially, and then just sort of be like, okay, good, have at it. I mean, we had a civil war that was kind of that stemmed from that issue, and then now, I mean, tensions in the U.S. have never been higher since the Civil War again. And it's like, when we're divided into these two factions of, Republican, Democrat, and we just viciously hate each other.
Yeah.
And it's, we're fighting over who gets to control the country, and it's a terrible, terrible idea.
It really is. And even in the separation of powers, you've got the judicial branch, which, kind of goes one direction, and do they have too much power? Do they have too little power? And then you got the legislative branch, then you got the presidency. There isn't really a lot of, concord between that.
Well, really, the founding fathers actually designed the current government system to be where the three the three branches of the government are literally at each other's throats fighting, and that was their idea, is that it would
Keep it at
supposedly-
standstill.
Yeah. Right. Well, so if
Protect
if I wanted some kind of concord or like good leadership of this group, and I intentionally set Daniel up against Sam and Sam against Jonathan, and I want Jonathan to be pitted up against Sissel, is that good, or do you think that's a good way, or do you think that it's inherently flawed, Daniel?
So, like, theoretically, it would work in the way that you would keep them from directing their attention against the populace, the people, except the problem is that eventually you're going to reach a point where one or more of them are united, and they actually direct their attention on the people.
And then
so,
all hell breaks loose.
yeah, then you sort of defeat the purpose of them all three fighting against each other if they're all working together against you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Buddy commented on Facebook that democracy is 2 wolves and a lamb voting what's for dinner. Which I thought was
Man,
great.
Yeah.
he brought his A game
Yeah,
today, didn't he?
did.
All right,
did.
thank you, buddy. Appreciate your program, and your program, your comments. Well, yeah, you appreciate our program. We appreciate your comments. All right, and if you want to call in. 877-757-9424. Interesting, in chapter 3, he's talking about some of the things that a tyrant does. And listen to this quote from Aquinas and tell me if it doesn't maybe ring true with some of the things that are going on today in our culture. He says, "Wherefore they sow discords among the people and forbid anything that furthers society and cooperation among men, such as marriage, company at table, and anything of like character, through which familiarity and confidence are engendered among men. They moreover strive to prevent their subjects from becoming powerful and rich, since suspecting these to be wicked as themselves, they fear their power and wealth." Okay, so they want to squash, the success. They want to squash wealth. They want to discourage marriage. They want to discourage familiarity at table. I was thinking about all the social distancing and everybody stay apart and all that kind of stuff of the last couple of years. I never thought that was good for people. So anyways, any thoughts on that? Any comments?
So another thing to sort of add is you've seen a lot of decline in, say, marriage rates and stuff, and a bunch of other things that Aquinas specifically stated in that even today in a republican system, it just sort of causes the same effects or similar effects.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. This chapter 7, I'll zip to that. He says, how provision might be made that a king may not fall into tyranny. Now, Buddy gave some examples of monarchs that were bad, that basically ended up as tyrants. But in Aquinas's opinion, the monarchy can be good, but it requires that it be a good man, right? That it be one person who's, and how do we make that? He said, first, it is necessary that the man who is raised up to be a king by those whom it concerns should be of such a condition that it is improbable that he should become a tyrant. Now, this part is really interesting. It says, but to deserve to secure this benefit from God, meaning a good monarch, the people must desist from sin. For it is by divine permission that wicked men receive power to rule as a punishment for sin, as the Lord said in the prophet Hosea, I will give you a king in my wrath. And in Job says, makes a man that is a hypocrite to reign over for the sins of the people. Sin must therefore be done away with in order that the scourge of tyrants may cease.
Yeah, he also later said, I don't know if it's in this book or not, but he said that lack of faith in the hereditary principle is lack of faith in divine providence.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
He just flat out just said that, yeah.
Aquinas said that.
Mhm.
Okay, so the hereditary nature of monarchy is good,
Yeah.
right? And if we lose faith in that,
That's just one argument, but yeah, that was
interesting.
essentially it's he was making the argument that a democracy is based on pride, essentially, in which we're trying to control everything ourselves and micromanage it, whereas in trying to take care of things that are really just bigger than us and that we have no rights or responsibility to be able to take care of. So instead, we put our faith in God to help guide the king to the right choice, because he won't I mean, it's just basic faith in God that He's going to take care of you.
Mm-hmm.
in that
Yeah,
sense.
interesting.
There's also a comment.
All right.
Speaking-
All right, Sam.
Yeah.
Is it Buddy again?
It is Buddy.
Oh, Buddy.
So he said, this country is a republic, not a democracy. The reason that this country is flawed is because the federal government took power from the states, ignoring state
Ooh,
rights.
I very much
It's
agree with
called
that.
a
Yes.
semi-presidential democratic republic.
Yes.
Well, but that just to correct me if I'm wrong, is a democracy would be we vote and everything, right?
Yeah.
And so if you say, do you want abortion, you have a nationwide vote, and whatever 51% of the people say, that's the law, right? That'd be a true democracy.
Yeah,
But the
that would be true.
republic means that we elect officials and they represent us, right?
It's like a funnel down version, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like your candidate is like the bullet that the party shoots. That's how I always saw it.
Right. So, I mean, for example, we have, is it 435 members of the House of Representatives,
Yeah,
right?
435.
Okay, and 100 senators. So each senator represents maybe 2 senators for each state. And then we have districts for the House of Representatives. And so that one person represents, literally thousands of people, depending on what state they're from, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Does every House person represent approximately the same number of people?
Ooh, good
Is
question.
it-
I'm
'cause
not a-
that's how
I
they.
think so.
Yeah, because they're doing redistricting right now. Yeah, redistricting to kind of, because we grew in population, so they're trying to even everything out. So I think
Yeah,
so.
every
Yeah.
single state has at least one representative in the House of
Yeah,
Representatives.
and then it goes
Yeah.
up based on
Yeah.
The
population.
population, so the percentages aren't the same because really small states might have more representation, but it's supposed to be roughly the same per person.
Yeah, but with the Senate, it's very uneven because
Yes.
Wyoming would get 2 senators and California would get 2 senators, and it's
Yeah.
kind of a little bit. But that's why they have the different branches. All right, so Chapter 8 talks about how is a king to be honored, because he says it is fitting, therefore, to consider wherein a suitable reward for a good king is to be found. And then Aquinas goes on to say, well, the reward for a person could be honor and glory. Okay, that would be a suitable reward, from a temporal standpoint. And then he says, for it is in the hearts of all men to seek their proper good. Therefore, if the prince is not content with glory and honor, he will seek pleasures and riches, and so will resort to plundering and injuring his subjects. Okay, so if the king wants honor and glory, oftentimes it's not going to be enough for him, and then he's going to say, okay, in addition to honor and glory, I also want, fill in the blank, all these other things. And then Thomas says, the desire for human glory takes away greatness of soul. For he who seeks the favor of men must serve their will in all he says and does, and thus, while striving to please all, he becomes a slave to each one. It is the mark of a virtuous and brave soul to despise glory, as he despises life for justice's sake, whence this strange thing results, that glory ensues from virtuous acts, and out of virtue glory itself is despised. So that's one of the qualities of a good king, is that he should despise glory. He should despise honor, and he also, in some way, should despise the temporal goods that would come from his position. Okay, is that realistic? Are there
Probably
many?
not.
Are there many people out there
Yeah.
that are like, yeah?
But I see it a lot like some of the what's it called. I guess it was more prevalent in the Middle Ages, but some of the cardinals that live these lavish lives, but would try to remain humble, and they would still fast, and they would pray every day. Oh Lord, forgive me. I don't mean to wear these jewel encrusted robes,
Yeah.
and all that. But
Yeah, and the other thing is if you have a monarchy and you have a king whose prince is living a really cush lifestyle, typically, what are the chances that future king is going to be virtuous when he, in many cases, has been challenged very little? And again, you could raise the kid it seems like the odds would be against this kind of person, which almost seems it's a rare person that does not desire honor, does not desire glory, and but then Thomas goes on to say, what this kind of person ideally would be. Okay, so any other comments?
Not yet, I don't believe.
Do we can call Buddy out for more comments, since he seems to be the guy that's doing
I
most
don't know.
of it?
He's great as far as
Yeah. All right, Buddy. We want love to hear from you. Anybody else that's out there? We know you're out there. Okay, so comment 877-757-9424 is the phone number. or you can also comment through social media, and Sam will quickly let us know when somebody has commented and let us know what you said. So chapter 9, the king should look to God for adequate reward. Therefore, since worldly honor and human glory is not a sufficient reward for royal cares, it remains to inquire what sort of reward is sufficient. It is proper that a king look to God for his reward, for a servant looks to his master for the reward of his service. Thus, it is also clearly shown by reason, it is implanted in the minds of all who have the use of reason, that the reward of virtue is happiness. Okay, so now you have to have a king who understands that his ultimate good is happiness, and not only that, but that his ultimate happiness is God. All right, so maybe through good training and catechesis, and we trust that the king is brought up to fear God, to understand. I mean, maybe sign up for, Homeschool Connections Intro to the Summa Theologia. Maybe, Daniel, that's what you're being. You're being groomed for kingship, okay? But I think it could be done, though. I mean, they could be taught that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Don't you think, Paul? Most people just don't even know that their ultimate end is God.
Oh, yeah.
There actually is I'm trying to think of what it was called, but there was an entire book that I read. I mean, it was a short, something kind of like Diregno, on the hereditary principle and why it was the best method of power transfer. I can't think of what it was called. If I remember, I'll tell you. But
well, one thing about it is there wouldn't be elections, and there would be no election fraud and bitterness.
Essentially,
there's a lot of bitterness in this country because of the last election. A lot of people thought it was rigged.
Yeah,
and with the monarchy, there's no elections.
Yeah, the thing is that it would, like a democracy, it, like I said before, it inherently puts you against each other, and it, there are issues in that way, and it inherently makes the culture very political, which people always complain about. Which is kind of funny because they're fighting for a system that will make their culture always be very politicized. But essentially, the main argument for the hereditary method is that it's fair and it's simple. It's just there's no argument, there's no fighting. He's the king. He's going to be the king, and he's going to be trained to do it. And then, of course, whether or not he becomes a good king or not is up to God, essentially, not to the prince.
But we also have to follow and honor even a bad king.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a scriptural principle, is that we have to honor our rulers.
You do the same thing with bad presidents, which most of them are bad.
Yeah. And I mean, even there have been bad popes. We have to honor the office of even a bad pope. All right, so he says, whence happiness is called the perfect good, inasmuch as it comprises in itself all things desirable, but no earthly good is such a good. They who have riches desire to have more. They who enjoy pleasure desire to enjoy more, and the like is clear for the rest. And if they do not seek more, they at least desire that those they have should abide, or that others should follow in their stead. For nothing permanent is found in earthly things. Consequently, there is nothing earthly which can calm desire. Thus, nothing earthly can make man happy, so that it may be a fitting reward for a king. All right, so I mean that's like wisdom. To understand that, a king has to be wise. And then he also says in chapter 10 that a king should be given higher heavenly rewards. Okay, so a person who has greater influence and more responsibility here on earth, he should hope to be given a greater crown in heaven when he dies, and so that should be his reward. So the ideal king is one who understands that the way that he rules here on earth is going to I guess impact his eternal judgment, and that if he does rule well, then he's going to be rewarded by God in a very big way. All right.
Oh, yes.
Oh, got a comment?
Yes,
Is Buddy back at it again?
Yes, it is Buddy back
all
at
right.
it. And he says, remember, we were never to vote on the Senate. Hold on a second, I can't read my computer. Vote on the Senate. The states were to appoint their senators. The people would be represented in Congress, known as the People's House, and the Senate is the state's house. So if the Senate was still appointed, we would not have the chaos that we are seeing now, because more states have Republican governors. Also, voting was never to be a right in America. The states said who could vote, and it was based on property ownership and who paid taxes.
Yeah. So originally it was not everybody who voted.
Yeah. Right.
Well,
I think that
women weren't voting originally. Slaves were not voting, and so of course I don't know. I mean, it makes sense if you're going to have a democracy, if you're going to have a republic, everybody probably ought to vote, right?
Yeah, no matter what, the floodgate's going to open at some point. It's just you're allowing some people to vote is like putting a crack in a wall, and eventually it's going to open up more and more over time. No matter what you do, it's going to happen.
Now, he has chapter 11 talks about what the tyrant is. Let's see, what advantages which are rendered to kings are lost by the tyrant. Okay, so what does the tyrant not have that the king has, other than eternal reward in heaven? Do you know what, from a temporal standpoint, what he says? He says he doesn't have friendship. He says, among all worldly things, there is nothing which seems worthy to be preferred to friendship. I mean, isn't that true, though? I mean, what do you treasure more than your friends? I mean, is there anything? I mean, your car or your house or... I mean, isn't our friends the most important thing we have?
Yeah,
I mean, our relatives.
Certainly should be, yeah.
Yeah,
Certainly
right.
should be, yeah.
I was going to say, I mean, if you like your car more than your friend, then there's probably a problem there, right?
We got some issues there. No, definitely.
Friendship unites good men and preserves and promotes virtue. Yet, although tyrants desire this very benefit of friendship, they cannot obtain it. For when they seek their own good instead of the common good, there is little or no communion between them and their subjects. Now, all friendship is concluded upon the basis of something common among those who are to be friends. The government of tyrants, on the other hand, cannot last long because it is hateful to the multitude, and what is against the wishes of the multitude cannot be long preserved. Okay, so you're not going to have any friendship, which is interesting because have y'all studied Machiavelli, like the Prince by Machiavelli? And he says the exact opposite. He says it is better to be feared than loved if you're a ruler.
That's kind of disturbing.
Or if you're Michael Scott, you want people to be afraid of how much they love you.
Yes.
If anyone out there gets that.
I don't get it.
I got the reference.
Okay.
It's an Office
You
reference.
homeschool nerds, come on.
The Office, that's pop culture.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Normally we don't know those
I
things.
thought that was some character from Lord of the Rings or something.
No, we can get there. We could. Believe me, this whole time I've been like, we should make comparisons of, how King Aragorn ruled.
No, nobody in Lord of the Rings called Michael Scott. I'm guessing.
No.
Yeah, that doesn't seem very Lord of the Ring-ish. All right, so we're getting down to our last few chapters here. Let's see. Okay, listen to this. Chapter 13, the duties of a king. Therefore, let the king recognize that such is the office which he undertakes, namely that he is to be in the kingdom what the soul is in the body, and what God is in the world. If he reflects seriously upon this, a zeal for justice will be enkindled in him when he contemplates that he has been appointed to this position in place of God, to exercise judgment in his kingdom. Further, he will acquire the gentleness of clemency and mildness when he considers as his own members those individuals who are subject to his rule. Imagine that, a president of the United States say, I consider myself basically as God is to the world. I mean, I am to my country as God is to the world, or as the soul is to the body. That wouldn't go over too well.
Yeah.
No.
I mean,
don't think
it was
so.
Charles Colomb in his book Star Spangled Crown, which is a fantastic book. You should all read it. He says that the office of a king is a lot like the vocation to a priesthood, where it's just this lifelong, you're stuck in this lifelong, very, very important duty. It's like being a pope almost.
Yeah. I wonder what if it other examples in history where kings lost their mind or are kind of pushed out, or because
I think
they
Ivan the
always go
Terrible.
to death, or
He went crazy, I think.
Yeah.
I
I think he.
I think there was a few
Yeah,
that
but-
might have gone crazy.
yeah.
I would go crazy.
If you
Yeah.
were a king,
Yeah. I go
Yeah.
crazy.
Well, he went. Well, he was a bad king, and he kind of went. I think he just went crazy in the end and wound up killing himself somehow. I think.
Oh no.
Yeah, he was pretty crazy. But one thing I do want to point out is that on the topic of tyrants, I have a lot to say about this, but I'm gonna try to keep it short. But thing is that when you look back in history, you're only gonna be able to really pick out a handful of tyrants. I can think of maybe 5 off the top of my head. If you really scrutinize, you're gonna find some more. But generally, the really bad ones, you're probably gonna think Ivan the Terrible, King John, Henry VIII. I can't.
Nero.
Some bad kings. But the thing is that
and they're the ones people remember because you don't remember the good ones necessarily.
Exactly, yeah, I
Because
mean-
they've kept peace in their country, and peace doesn't make the news,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And also, it's important to remember that those kings were more primitive kings as well. They're in monarchs, much more unrestricted monarchies, in which there was no constitution usually, nothing to bind them and keep them in check. And also, they lived in a much more primitive society. Which today, if Biden said, "Okay, I'm going to start executing people by the masses to steal their gold," that's not going to go very well with the international community. So I think it is important to look back and see, okay, I can think of 5 really, really bad monarchs. Any other bad monarchs just really didn't do anything and just kind of neglected their authority. But we have met a lot of the greats and many saints. And if you think how many saints, how many presidents have become saints? How many Obama the greats are there? I mean, and you could say it hasn't been that long of a time. But then again, the fact that we're declining so quickly after the start should just show you that it really isn't a very good system that we have right
There
now.
really is only one Catholic president that there has been. I think it was John F. Kennedy or something.
Well, and Biden, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
Catholic.
technically.
Yeah, right. I mean, baptized Catholics. There's only been 2. Yeah. That's a whole nother
Can of worms, yeah.
But all right, so the connection between the king and the church is very, very much intertwined, according to St. Thomas Aquinas. He says, consequently, government of this kind pertains to that king who is not only a man, but also God, namely our Lord Jesus Christ, who by making men sons of God brought them to the glory of heaven. Then this is the government which has been delivered to him and shall not be destroyed, on account of which he is called in Holy Writ, not priest only, but king. And then he quotes Jeremiah. Hence a royal priesthood is derived from him, and what is more, all those who believe in Christ, insofar as they're his members, are called kings and priests. And so he definitely would think that the king, even a temporal king, would be underneath, obviously, Jesus Christ, but also underneath the Pope. So the Pope would have jurisdiction and rule over the king. That's why there was the conflict between like Henry VIII and the Pope, right? And that kind of thing. One last quote. I think this is kind of the summary statement in regard to monarchy and kingship. He said, therefore, since the beatitude of heaven is the end of that virtuous life which we live at present, it pertains to the king's office to promote the good life of the multitude in such a way as to make it suitable for the attainment of heavenly happiness. That is to say, he should command those things which lead to the happiness of heaven and, as far as possible, forbid the contrary. I mean, that's it. I mean,
Wow.
So the king has got to be, first of all, interested in his subjects' eternal salvation. And that never comes up, really, in our government.
No,
The
it's
government, in fact,
very much
Against it.
yeah, very. I mean, so that they're
As far away from that as possible, yeah.
and so, I mean, there lies the problem with our government, is that our government officials are not even allowed, when you think about
Yeah,
it.
it's very much an alien idea in our culture today that we actually have this final end, and it's the government's duty to actually go for that. It's a much lesser, let's try and keep interactions between other people peaceful and create a somewhat orderly society, as opposed to reaching the final cause,
Yeah,
or final end.
yeah, that's very well said. It's kind of like the problem with public schools is that public schools can teach, but they are not really allowed to lead you, connect education with the final end.
Exactly.
It's a kind of by rule, they're not allowed to mention God. And that in and of itself means they're fundamentally flawed, right? Where a Catholic school or a homeschool can teach math, can teach biology, can teach chemistry in light of the big picture, where these different subjects can be connected to the one's final end.
Well, even in addition to that, they can actually teach theology, morality, and reason. So you don't. So public schools, even though they can't teach, even though you could still teach things in light of a Catholic worldview, you still get the Catholic worldview and other areas itself outside of other subjects, math, science, the sciences, literature, even outside of that. You can still get that through Catholic schools and homeschooling, most especially.
Yeah. And what do they say? Like in polite conversation, don't talk about religion and politics. So even in our like social intercourse, the rule is break the fundamental rule. And that, I mean, think about it, is that, don't talk to people about religion. Don't talk to people. Don't bring up God. That's that's divisive. That's the one rule that it should be the rule. Like in everything you do, refer to God.
Yeah.
And so I think our culture, our government, our education is all fundamentally flawed because there's no connection between what we do and our final end.
We're not made to just ignore all divisive subjects and just tolerate people. We were not made to just tolerate everyone. We're actually made to have discourse and eventually agree on something.
Yeah, and a monarch would help that.
Yeah, I think that our society, it reminds me a bit of Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451, which Dan and I read recently for literature class, in which people in the society just kind of try to forget about the important things, like, like anything with politics or religion, and just focus only on what's happy, and, only talk about that and do those things. And they just kind of live in this denial, and then eventually they just die this horrible, pathetic life.
That's what it's about?
Well, that's just a theme, yeah.
Sort of the state of society is.
Yeah, it's very similar to today.
Yeah. I think we actually have figured out what's wrong with our culture during this hour.
Show is over. We're done.
Boom, you're welcome. We did
it.
We're done. So that's the
show
last.
Canceled.
That's the last
what you
show.
We
We can't do anything else.
We can't do anything else. I do have another question from Buddy on social media.
All right.
He says he's asking how St. Thomas would defend the monarchy when the wisest King Solomon failed. How can a normal person be king when King Solomon was granted wisdom from God and still failed?
I would like to say, how can you defend a Republican system when it produced, what's calling say Biden, but it's true Biden, Hitler and Stalin and these systems, they produced the worst people in all of history.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just kind of fact. I mean.
Yeah, but I mean, to his specific question, I think, and I'm not going to be able to give Buddy a satisfactory answer, I think he actually brings this up in the book.
Does he?
Because I know he talks about Solomon. I don't have the book in front of me, and I only have excerpts. But let me
it'd be kind of weird
let me
not
look
to
into
bring
that.
up, some of the kings in the Bible and stuff like that as examples.
But also, it's important to note that, again, like I was saying, that's a much more primitive form of monarchy, where, it's just one guy's kind of like, ooh, me, head leader, that kind of thing. Where, if you go
How did it go?
Well, you know what I'm saying. It's a
every
primitive.
time I hear about King Solomon, I'm going to picture that.
Yeah, but if you go back, it's a couple hundred years, you had a much more, you can think of the Romanovs. They had a very sophisticated, although that was the most absolute monarchy of his time, they still had a more of a actual structure to their monarchy instead of just one guy who was like, I'm in charge, y'all.
Okay. Also,
Buddy is he's got another comment?
No. I was actually from Adrian on our YouTube page. He says that CDT, the Catholic Drive Time, on Monday will be All Things Christ the King. It's a pre-recorded show, so on Monday, All Saints Day.
Wait, is he just trying to advertise through our show? Is that what's happening?
Well, to be fair, we use their show to advertise too. But it's
yeah. Well, now Buddy knows about what's going to be on Monday for on CDT. So, all right, Adrian, very
Don't
good.
do it, Buddy.
Pre-recorded show because it's all going to be All Saints Day, and so there's not going to be a live CDT that morning. But Adrian was saying this morning on CDT, he was making a joke about Halloween, and I didn't quite understand what he was saying. But you know how it used to be when I was growing up, when you bring all your candy home after you go out trick-or-treating, the parents would inspect it because there were all those little rumors flying around that people were putting like pins and razor blades in it, which I think happened like one time, but then it became like this
a tradition almost.
It actually was true that it was like maybe one case, but then everybody freaked out about it. And then Adrian said something about seriously, he said this morning, that he wanted to put the Summa Theologia inside his candy.
Put like one passage, wrap it up into the wrapper.
Yeah.
My parents checked for any candy that was like slightly open.
Yeah,
they would
that's
go
what
through and they
that's
do
what
that. Yeah.
Okay.
Cases.
Yeah. If there's like something oozing out of it or something, but all right. That's going to bring you to the end of our teaching portion of it. And Daniel, thank you so much. You're a really good contributor to the program. Appreciate you coming in. Man, just kind of thrown into the lion's den, and you held yourself...
Daniel in the lion's den?
Yes, well, thank you
Very
for inviting
good.
We
me.
did it.
Wow.
We did it. We
Wow.
just succeeded.
I like that. Okay, so is that actually a call coming in, Diane?
Yes,
Look at that.
Ooh, gonna call.
Adrian said he was trying to call
trying
in,
to
but
call
it wasn't
in.
going
Okay.
through. But
All right, so
Is it time of the show?
this is the time of the show. Do you want to,
Yeah.
Diane? I don't know if Diane can multitask.
can
and play
someone
that.
hum a song for me? Oh, there we
Oh,
go.
there we go.
It's that time of the show where we give Dave Suma to think about, and he gives us unfairly longer questions. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, hey! I thought you were going to record that.
nope, nope.
Okay.
I like to change it up.
All right.
I'm going to be honest up front. I have no questions.
You got nothing.
You always
I
are
got
honest
nothing.
up front.
Okay, so Jonathan has nothing. No, but my guess would be before the show ends, you're going to come up with something.
I don't know. My
You're gonna
brain's
think of
pretty
something.
tired today.
All right. Daniel did not, nor did he. Was he expected to bring trivia questions because he didn't know about
He's
this.
off the hook.
Sam's running on empty.
Sam could be my teammate. We've got
Okay.
one there because he
Hey,
can look.
let's,
He literally
let-
sees the answer.
Let's bring
so.
Adrian on before we do that.
Sounds
okay.
good.
Okay. So Adrian, producer of CDT, welcome. How you doing?
Good morning, Dave. Good morning, Sissel.
It's
Good morning,
afternoon.
everyone else
What
in
are
the
you-
studio.
Good
Hello.
morning. What
Wait,
are you talking
what?
You
about?
all
I have
right?
a lot of people.
It's not
Oh,
much.
you're right. It's like at this point. It's like nighttime.
He's so much in CDT mode that he only knows how to say good morning. He thinks
Yeah,
like it's
honestly.
only morning. Okay.
Honestly, I just finished wrapping up the recording, and I just said good morning like 80 times.
Okay.
So
well,
now
there
it's
you
in
go.
my head.
Well, it's
that
morning
it's,
somewhere.
Monday morning.
Yeah.
No, but praise be to God. I didn't know y'all were doing a show. I got so wrapped up with work, and I didn't see y'all doing a Monarchy show again. Praise be to God.
Yeah, we do it every
Yeah.
Friday.
No,
Yeah.
just monarchy.
Exactly.
Just forever.
Yeah.
Actually, we determined we've solved all the world's problems, so the show's actually canceled now.
Oh, awesome. Praise be to God. There we go. Good problem to have.
So
No, we did.
Did you get to hear some of the conversation, Adrian?
I just tuned in about 15 minutes ago, so I got the last bit of it, and I was like, I heard you talking about my my candy joke,
Yeah.
and I heard about and also just to let y'all know, Feast of Christ the King is this Sunday in the traditional Mass,
Oh yeah.
and so I was talking about that for Monday. We're gonna be talking about that a little bit because we're talking about monarchy and Christ is King. Christ,
Yeah.
and He is not just King over our hearts, not just King over our wills, but also He's King. Sovereign over society. And you talked about education system, and I was reading the encyclical Quas Primas to the audience, and in it he's very clear, Pius XI is, that even the education system has to be subject to Christ the King, and the morals of Christ the King have to be taught.
Yeah. And that's why it's fundamentally flawed. I mean, the public school system is fundamentally flawed because it's by rule not allowed to address the children's final end.
Amen.
Other
Amen.
than becoming attorneys or doctors or living a good life, whatever that means. When God is taken away from it, it's empty.
Absolutely, that's exactly right. And the joke I'm on the Summa Theologiae, yes, I'm saying I should print out USB drives and upload the Summa
there you
Theologiae. I
go.
was going to give those out,
There we
and that
go.
came from a meme where people were like, "Oh darn it," because they had their pictures of people with razor blades and candies, and people would get out the razor blade and like shove the Summa in it, and it's like, "Oh darn, I found a Summa in my candy bar."
Another Summa. It's like Linus in the Rocks. He'll just be like, not another rock,
Yeah.
but another
exactly.
Summa.
Another Summa. Yeah, but if even one of those kids would actually take that Summa and read it, then it'd be worthwhile. But that's pretty cool. I know you guys are talking about Halloween and all that. I loved your guest, by the way, today, talking about the guy about
Charles Strawn, yes.
the demonic and all that kind of stuff. That was really interesting. What do you do for Halloween, if anything, Adrian, or do you just boycott it altogether?
No, see, I wish I could just boycott it altogether. I'm not that holy, unfortunately. But for this year, what I'm doing is my parish, because it's the Feast of All Saints Day is on Monday, and it's also Feast of Christ the King. We're having a lot of liturgies, so we're going to be doing that. I'm going to be emceeing. They're having a All Saints Day parade where the kids are going to be dressed up as saints. They're going to be doing parading through, so I'm going to MC that event for them. So praise be to God for that. And then we're going to have cornhole tournaments and basically just have a little festival at the church. And then after that, I'm going to go and we're going to have the vigil for the All Saints Day. Praise be to God.
All right. Sounds like a very holy set of activities. So awesome for that. Very good. Hey man, well thanks for calling in. Good to hear from you. And I enjoy the show every morning. I listen in every morning.
Praise be to God. Thank you very much, and I can't wait to hear what questions they have for you.
You want to hang on, or do you want me to hang you up?
We could use your help.
Up to you. Up to you.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to go ahead and include you on it. Okay? Because since I think Sissel, you've got nothing, right? Oh no, you do have
have
something.
questions.
Oh,
Thank you
okay.
very much.
Okay.
I do my homework.
All right. So I'm going to ask each one of you a question, including Adrian. Okay? And then the
Okay.
ones who get their question right get a final bonus round there at the end. Okay? So
Yikes.
I'll start off with okay. Daniel gets the easy one. Okay? Daniel's first. You ready, Daniel?
Sure.
Okay. Blank was invented so Catholics could eat at McDonald's on Fridays. What was invented so Catholics
No,
could
Daniel,
eat
why?
at
I
McDonald's?
don't go to McDonald's. So
No!
Come on. So you don't. Okay. So you're
my guess would be something like a fish sandwich or something.
But
the,
you know-
the filet of
Yeah,
fish
the filet of
sandwich.
fish.
All right. So Daniel has made it into the lightning round at the end. Okay. Congratulations, Daniel. Okay. This is a hard one, so I'm going to ask Sissel this one.
Oh, thank
okay.
you. I am very humble, so it'll just continue my humility.
According to the Catholic Church, what is Jesus's blood type?
Oh, I heard of that.
Oh, I always forget, but it's the one that's supposed to be compatible with all blood types. But I forgot which that one is. I don't know what.
I got it.
I think I know what it
What
is.
is
You want to
Oh,
get
positive.
You want
I-
to get a lifeline? Or?
Yeah, lifeline. Can I get a
Okay.
lifeline?
Adrian's your lifeline.
I don't even know my own blood type, so this is like
Oh, okay. Much less Jesus'
Yeah,
type. Okay. So
Can anyone lifeline?
it.
Okay.
AB positive. 'cause
AB
it's-
positive. I think there's a
you know,
positive.
You're right. Yes.
Wow.
Very good.
I had the positive part right, so I feel like I got a third of that question.
Or
All
negative's
right.
the one that-
Okay. So now we're at let's see. Jonathan, you ready?
Okay.
Okay. Some Catholics urged Pope Clement VII to ban blank, calling it the devil's beverage. But after tasting the beverage, the Pope is said to have remarked that the drink was so delicious that it would be a sin to let only misbelievers drink it. What was he talking about?
I'm assuming it's some kind of alcohol.
Adrian can be your lifeline.
Adrian, help me. Is it
It's
alcohol?
coffee.
Coffee, yes.
Coffee? Coffee?
That's what Sam was saying. He was saying
Okay.
coffee.
Really? What's so bad about coffee?
Really? It's
So-
not coffee?
No. What's your? I'm waiting for his final answer.
Oh,
Oh.
What? Okay. You want to trust your lifelines, or you want to go rogue?
I guess I'll trust my lifeline. Coffee.
All right, he's right.
No.
Yes, exactly.
What's
Very
evil
good.
about coffee?
Well, that's they thought maybe it just made
Because
people
it was created
too
by
jittery.
Muslims created it.
Okay,
Oh,
so
wow.
now we're on to Sam. Okay, everybody's gotten into the lightning round so far. Sam Blank, the inventor of the printing press, was Catholic, and the first book ever printed was the Catholic Bible. Who is the inventor of the printing press?
I have no clue.
Who? No clue?
No.
Okay. You want to check find your lifeline, or do you want to check with anybody?
Sure.
Johannes Gutenberg or
Man,
something like that.
Daniel.
Yeah,
Yes.
Wow.
Okay.
I
All
was like,
right.
against
So
the
Sam
drink.
limped into the final round.
So I think most of us did.
Okay. Now,
Besides Daniel.
Daniel's the only one that.
Here is Adrian's question. What was St. Patrick's nationality? Where was he from?
Oh, I know this.
Oh, man, that's hard.
That's a good question.
Don't go with the easy.
Don't go with the
I know
obvious
he's
answer.
not
It's
Irish.
wrong.
He's not Irish.
Not Irish.
go
Where is
with
he from?
He is from, I don't know. I'm going to go with Italy.
Oh man, you hate to see that happen to a man.
Darn.
Oof.
You didn't even try.
Bummer.
You didn't even try Daniel as your lifeline. Daniel knows
I didn't
everything.
know
that.
You don't
He
know
didn't
this
know
one?
that.
I think I know. It's
I don't
either.
have a lifeline.
Is it Belgium or France? It's one of those. isn't it?
No,
Ah.
he's British. He's from Britain.
Oh.
Britain, Roman Britain.
Yes,
Sort of
that's
makes
Yeah,
right.
see,
That's
he would have spoken like
he was
this.
captured
Hello.
on the-
Oh, like that, mate.
Okay, so those who went into the final
is
round.
everybody.
Okay, everybody except,
Yeah.
No, not except for Adrian.
Oh,
Adrian
never
didn't
mind.
get
Adrian
in.
didn't make it.
Adrian didn't
Well,
go
he's
to
the
outcast.
line. Okay, so here's the question. So whoever gets closest wins.
Oh boy.
How many diocese/archdiocese are there in the United States of America?
Ooh, I remember the early beginning of the pandemic. It was
Is
it-
Jonathan? I need your answer.
230.
Okay, 230 says Jonathan. Daniel.
I got asked about this earlier, but I didn't ever manage to look it up. I guess would be 200 or so.
200 for Daniel. Sam?
I'll just go 300.
300. Sissel?
I'm gonna go low just because 183.
183. Okay.
That's probably way
Well,
too
let's
low.
see who's closest. It's going to be between Daniel and Sissel. It's 194. So Daniel. No. Man.
I was literally 11 off, and how much was he off?
He's off by 6.
Oh.
He said 200.
I thought he said over 200. My bad.
No,
Okay.
no.
I was so excited for a second.
Does that count?
How
Does that
many
count the
bishops are there in-
non-territorial diocese?
No, you mean like the ordinary of the Church of St. Peter? No,
And the military
said
diocese?
194 archdioceses and dioceses and 1 exarchate, whatever that means.
Like Guam or something?
Yeah, I don't know. But I don't know if it includes that or not.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, all
Very
right.
good.
So, Sissel, it's your turn.
Well, okay. All right. I'm going back to some Bible questions because I really like
Oh,
to. I like
no.
to play my Protestant card a lot. And for this one, the first one is I'll ask Dave this one because I think you might have a better chance of getting this.
You just insulted everybody
I'm
else
sorry.
in the room, by the way.
No, I feel like probably all of y'all could. But who is the only female judge of Israel?
Deborah.
Yay.
Okay.
Woo. Good
Diane.
job.
Okay.
Yeah, you want to make sure you get the clapping, yeah. Diane.
Because I want honor and glory.
Yeah, that's what you want. You be bad king.
All right, Jonathan, name the shortest verse in the Bible.
I have no
Oh, I
idea.
know.
No,
this.
seriously.
Okay. Right, Sam knows it.
Oh,
Okay.
Sam also can see the screen. To be
Daniel,
fair.
maybe we
I
found.
pass. I yield my time.
We
Oh, wow.
found Daniel's weak link. I think scripture.
My guess would be something like 3 words or so.
It's 2 words.
Yeah, it's 2 words, and it's a very specific one.
Yeah.
Adrian, do you know?
Jesus wept.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Oh,
Yes.
I've heard about that.
John
Yeah.
chapter 11, verse 35, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow,
just keep
the
it
crowd-
going.
the
The
crowd
crowd
goes
goes
wild.
wild, on and on and on. Hold on, I lost my other
How many
question.
do you have? Do you have one for
I
everybody?
mean, I have like a list of like 40, so
Oh,
I'm
okay.
just
Oh my
choosing the
goodness.
best ones of
Okay,
those.
okay.
Oh, okay. I'm going to ask this one to Adrian. What are the 4? Sorry. What are the 4 rivers listed as flowing out of Eden?
Ooh. I know. one.
Oh my goodness, that is
This cruel
That's a rough
question. I'm
one.
sorry.
that has
Anyone
got to
know?
be the hard
Oh,
question.
I know 2 of them.
Okay, yeah, 2 of them are pretty easy. Dave, I'm gonna.
Euphrates?
Well, you're really lowering the. I mean, any honor and glory I'm gonna get out of
Sorry.
this has just been
Yeah,
squashed.
okay, he got one of them.
The Euphrates.
Yeah.
Styx. River Styx.
No.
No. Okay. Never mind.
That's the Greek mythology.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Wrong religion, Dan.
Oh, God.
I mean, Dave.
No, wait. Euphrates. There's 3 of them. There's 4.
There's 4. There's one other
That's
one's
the only
very.
one I know.
There's very, very common one. I feel like the other 2 are less. I would.
Okay.
The other Tigris. So it's
Oh,
the Tigris
yeah,
and the
okay.
Euphrates.
Yeah.
And then I don't actually know how to pronounce these other ones now that I mention it. It's been a while since I've heard these, so it's
C something.
well, one's like Phaishon and Gihon. I don't know Gihon, Jahan.
Gihon.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
However you pronounce that. Anyhow.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. And I'm gonna ask then Sam one. Sam, you can't look over here. Don't look away. Thank you. He's sitting next to me. Okay. I'll give you an easy one. What musical instrument did David play?
Oh, it's easy.
Well, the harp came to mind immediately.
Go with it.
Is it the harp?
Yes. Or the lyre, you know.
Liar.
Lyre.
And the harp, the same thing.
Lyre. I don't
Hey, don't call him a liar. He's
Hey, don't harp on that, will you?
Oh,
That's.
a good one.
By the way, Buddy's been getting most of these questions right on
and
social
we've been
media.
ignoring him totally.
All right. I could go on and on, but I think I
Okay,
digress
you
until next
didn't
week.
ask Daniel
Oh,
one?
didn't I ask anyone?
Thought
Oh
you
no,
did.
he did.
Oh, which one?
The first one, or was that
Yeah,
someone
no,
else?
that was Jonathan's.
Yeah.
And he okay.
No, you asked me the first one, then Jonathan.
Hold on a
one, I
second. All right,
guess.
I will get you one. I'll get you one.
Daniel's he's like the trivia king.
All right. After Jesus was crucified, who took his body down from the cross?
That would be Joseph Arimathea.
There you go.
All right.
Good job. Very good.
Oh man, there you go. All right.
That was a pretty easy one.
All right.
Fair.
I guess that wraps up the program. Thanks to everybody who participated. Buddy, thank you so much for your participation. Adrian, great to talk with you. Thanks.
God love you.
All right. Bye-bye. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Great having you here, Daniel, Jonathan, Sam, Thistle, and Diane. We'll see you next week, everybody. God bless you.
Thanks for joining us for Back to the Father. And don't forget, the glory of God is the human person fully alive. If you have comments about the show, email Dave Palmer at grnonline.com.